Hey guys, today we are going to learn section 10.4. Now what I want you to know is that I'm going to fly through this video a little bit. So if you at any point need to pause the video and rewind or go back and watch something again, please do so. You can stop and rewatch me as many times as you want. So today we're solving radical equations. If there's only one radical, here's what we do. Isolate the radical. Isolate means to get the radical by itself on one side. If you have more than one, get one radical on each side. Then we square both sides. Put it all in parentheses and square it, and then solve for the variable. And when we square both sides, sometimes an additional solution shows up that is not an actual solution, so you do have to make sure that you check for an extraneous solution. So sometimes a solution will show up that doesn't work, and we check that by plugging it back into the beginning. So let's start with this first example. Step 1, isolate the radical. So I'm going to subtract the 7, and radical x is going to equal 9. I have the radical by itself, so now I can square both sides. When you square a square root, they cancel out. X equals 81. Let's check. If I had radical 81 plus 7, would that equal 16? Square root of 81 is 9, so 9 plus 7 does equal 16. So yes, 81 works. Next one, isolate the radical. Radical x equals 3. Square both sides. X equals 9. Let's check. We get 3 minus 5, and that does equal negative 2, so x equals 9 does work. This one, our radical's already isolated, so let's square both sides. N squared will equal n plus 12 because a square root and a square will cancel out. Now, this is a quadratic, which means we have to get it all on one side. So I'm going to subtract the n and subtract the 12. So we get n squared minus n minus 12 equals 0. You have several options for solving this. You can factor, you can complete the square, you can quadratic formula, whichever one works. I'm going to factor because factoring is the easiest if you know how to factor. And an n, factors of negative 12 would be negative 4 and positive 3, so that we get a negative 4n and a positive 3n to get the negative n in the middle. Zero product property. N ends up equaling 4, and n equals negative 3. Now we have to check. Is 4 equal to the square root of 4 plus 12? Well, this is radical 16, which equals 4. So yes, the 4 works. Let's try the negative 3. Is 4 equal to the square root of negative 3 plus 12? Well, this is radical 9, which is 3. This one does not work. This would be considered an extraneous root. Not an answer. It's a solution that shows up that does not work. And that happens with radical equations. Let's try some more. So, radical's already by itself. Square both sides. Negative squared is positive. So we get y squared equals y plus 6. Negative y times negative y is y squared. Move it to one side. Again, factoring, completing the square, quadratic formula, any of those will work. I'm going to factor because this factors nicely. If you know how to factor, this will be not too difficult for you. Zero product property, we get y equals 3 and y equals negative 2. Now let's check. Is negative 3 equal to the square root of 3 plus 6? Well, we get radical 9, which is 3. Those are not equal. How about negative 2? Is negative negative 2 equal to the square root of negative 2 plus 6? Well, this is 2. This would be radical 4. This equals 2. And yes, they are equal. So negative 2 is our solution. Y equals 3 is our extraneous root. Here we've got radicals, more than one radical, so we get one on each side. And then we square, so we get 5t minus 11 equals t plus 5. Let's solve it. Subtract the t, add the 11. So 4t ends up equaling 16. Divide by 4. T is 4. Now let's check. 5 times 4 minus 11, does that equal the square root of 4 plus 5? Well, 5 times 4 is 20 minus 11, we get radical 9 equal to radical 9, so yes, t equals 4 works. Let's try this one. Both radicals are already by themselves, one on each side, so I square it. We get 7x minus 4 equals 5x plus 10. I'm going to subtract the 5x and add the 4. So 2x on the left equals 14. Divide by 2. X is 7. Let's check. We got 7 times 7 minus 4 in the radical on this side, and 5 times 7 plus 10 on this side. So we get radical 45 equal to radical 45, and yes, those are equal because they're the same. So y equals 7 is our answer. So now on these bottom two, be careful. Sometimes weird things happen. So I'm going to start by subtracting the 8. We got to isolate that radical, get it by itself. Then I'm going to square both sides. So we get 3y equals 36. Divide by 3, and y is 12. Now let's check something. 3 times 12 plus 8 equals 2. Well, radical 36 plus 8 is the same thing as 6 plus 8. Is 6 plus 8 equal to 2? It is not. So this is an extraneous root, meaning there is no solution. So make sure you're always checking your answers, even if there's only one, because sometimes that one is not a solution. All right, we got to get this radical by itself. I'm going to subtract the 6. We get negative radical 2x equals 4. Ooh, we have a negative. Let's divide by negative 1. Again, get that radical entirely by itself. So we've got the radical 2x equal to negative 4. Square both sides. Over here we get 2x. Over here we get 16. Divide by 2. X equals 8. Let's check it. Trying to figure out if 6 minus radical 2 times our x value, which is 8, is equal to 10. So 6 minus radical 16 is 6 minus 4 equal to 10. It is not. That's an extraneous solution. We have no solutions that work, therefore there is no solution. If you have questions, please email me, and I will be happy to help. Take your time and do your best on today's assignment.